بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Welcome everybody to the Safina Society Nothing But Facts live stream on a gorgeous, I don't know if it's spring or winter anymore, Tuesday, in the great state of New Jersey, which basically saved the Americans from the British. We would all be speaking British English right now if it were not for the Battle of Trenton in the great state of New Jersey. And that's the original history. That's the real history. Boston started it. Philly was big. Philadelphia. They wrote the Constitution. They wrote the Declaration of Independence there. New York was the first capital, but ultimately, who saved the day? Go to all the history books. It's a great people of New Jersey. Not like I'm related to them or anything, but that is part of New Jersey, NJ history. So we are, some people watch the live stream, where are these people? Where are they filming from? We're coming to you from New Brunswick, New Jersey, about a mile off from the famous and epic and massively huge Bob Wood University Medical Center, also known as Robert Wood, also known as Robert Hood. Some parts of it are, I guess, we used to be Hood, not Hood anymore, but that's what they call it. I'm looking here at this card again. I just happened to be on my desk and actually reading the rest of it. So some of these are really nice messages here from Yahya, the other Yahya. Nice message here. All right, here this is signed alleged high IQ. I can't say their full names because, you know, they're still minors. Very nice. Really appreciate all you've done for us. All right. You were a great Shaykh, coach, and teacher. All right. That's nice comment there. Head with a good comment. Alir, nice comment. Galani. Where's the comment, Galani? Name and no comment from Galani? Maybe she didn't know. I's a good nice comment here. Asif, last name. Shayan, well done. Had a great video. Nagimi with a nice comment here. Flattering comment. Muse, very good. All right. El Firdaus, great comment here. Salah. We got here Kareem. We got here Ahad. All right. Nice comment here. Aisha K. Zeech. Good comment. Kanar Salon, Eldin. Jada. Where's your comment, Jada? After all the answers I gave you on the tests, I don't even get a comment? All that talking in class. And then when it comes time to write a nice comment, I get a 0, nothing? No, she's got it coming for her. All I get after all the talking. Almost need like a hearing aid after class. And no comment except just your name. All right. And then this gentleman too. Who wrote that? Gotti. Should call him Gotti from now on. You know, Gotti, the mafioso. All those favors I've done for you. Delay the quiz. You know, the lobbyists. These kids should be lobbyists because they lobby every day. Delay the quiz. Make it more. If they do good, make it way more. And then it comes time to write the thank you letter. Well, let's look at who did write a good thank you. Amul, good thank you note here. Yazid, very good. You know, I have a student named Yazid. Yep. You know that, Omar? A student named Yazid. Yep. يزيد في الحسنات وينقص من السيئات. Right. Zaid K. All right. Nice comment. Who else? Who did we miss? I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. We need to have a Faluda party. Hey, 10th grade, what do you all say after Eid? We have a Faluda party. Right? Yeah, we have to have a Faluda party. All right. Ali. Okay. Nice note here. I think I got everybody. Yep. Aliner, very good. Thank you for teaching us how to think rationally. Says we did epistemology in this class. Right? Thank you so much for all you've done for us. We appreciate you so much. We'll miss you greatly. May Allah reward you immensely for all you taught us. Love the 10th grade. I think I got everybody. Oh, Gori and Inaya. How could I miss Gori and Inaya? Truly learned so much this year. So very grateful for everything you've done. Very nice. So I got everyone. I mentioned everyone by name. Oh, nope, missed one. Lemmer. The boxer. Here, all the knowledge he gave us. And then Maramsi. What handwriting. You know, some people's handwriting is amazing. Very nicely written, Maramsi. Today, people have been asking, who is the Syrian that you talked about in video number 3? The Syrian woman, her name is Majd. I'll tell you what her name is right now. Ash-Sharbaji. Her name is Majd Ash-Sharbaji. That's her name. And looking at my YouTube one day, and I see a short right after the Syrian Revolution. And she's speaking, and she says that her role, the reason that they're against her, is that she lobbied to the world, get the governments involved, that the prisoners in the Sidnaya jail prisons were being tortured. And many of them were held without even a charge. So she was like lobbying for them to be removed. Omar, type it up. Majd Ash-Sharbaji. I'm probably butchering her name. Let me just make sure I got it right. You got it? Yes, that's her. Majd Ash-Sharbaji. Go to the video. Go to the video there, okay? Because there is a very crisply click videos. Yeah, click videos. No, go that one. That podcast, Stories from Daraa, Syria. That podcast episode. It's not translated. You're gonna have to speak Arabic to know this. But this is the woman. Yeah. Just put it like as a screen, whatever. You could put it on. Yeah. I mean, at least it'll just be a visual, but. It is in Arabic. But this woman was eventually arrested. And she narrates a story in which they hung her from her arms backwards, meaning they handcuffed her behind her back. Then from that, hung her from an iron bar, right, with a rope. So how bad are your shoulders going to be messed up, right? She says that she was like, I don't know if my shoulder, my ball and socket joint, is that ever going to be ever fixed? Like, this is like bizarre to hang someone like this. And she said, within days, the pain was all gone. Everything was gone. She said she got hit. She got hit, and she was black and blue, like to the point that you couldn't see the skin anymore. See, that's her speaking. Video 3, when I mentioned a Syrian person, you know, because some people that have ill will, they say, oh, you're making stuff up. They say this all the time. And I shoot them down all the time because I bring them the receipts, right? Remember the guy who said, when I said earlier, you can mute it. You can, or mute it, just let it play. So as look, when I said that there used to be a rule in Hijaz that you cannot build over the Kaaba, right? And everyone went nuts. They're like, you're making stuff up. It took me not even 20 seconds on the computer to find the actual it wasn't a fatwa, it's an edict from the Sultan that all those buildings that are taller than the Kaaba, demolish them. It therefore became a rule of thumb that you don't, like a rule of thumb. We're not saying a hukum shara'i or even a fatwa. Just a rule of thumb out of respect. You know, out of respect, you don't put your feet towards the elderly. Unless you're raised in the West, maybe they don't have those rules. And if you're raised in the farmlands of some countries, you don't have those rules. It's true, right? Even in Islamic countries, if you're raised in the farms, the Bedouin don't have these rules. Their life is hard enough as it is, so they don't have these. They're very informal. But if you go to the cities, you can never do this. Could you imagine you're sitting You got your feet on the table, and then your grandma walks in. Oh, you're not going to have feet, right? So these are rules of thumb related to adab and akhlaq. And that was the adab and the akhlaq of builders in Mecca, based on this rule of thumb. You don't build something taller than the Kaaba. That was it. And it was started by Sultan Selim, right? Sultan Selim. And it lasted forever. And then like later on, of course, they did build around taller than the Kaaba because they had the need, right? But it was a rule of thumb that you didn't do that. And they, oh, you made stuff up. All right, I bought you this. Same thing now. This wasn't, nobody said this about this Syrian sister, but by the way, she's not the only one. You think she's the only one? When you go look her up, you're going to find so many women were tortured. But she says that one point she was hit with a cane so badly that you couldn't tell what color her skin was anymore. This is how much black and blue. And she said that this is going to take like months. In the podcast, that's what she says. She's like, taking months to heal. And she's like, within days, everything was healed, right? Now, Return of the Pharaoh was Zainab al-Ghazali, and you can get this book. Omar, you can just PDF. It's a very good read. It's a very good read, especially her visions of the Prophet. She has so many visions. Now, somebody had asked, Omar, I'm going to send you this. You can link it. Put the link up for everybody. Somebody had asked, all right, you mentioned some of what happened to the wali. Well, what made them a wali? Well, it is mentioned in every video what made them a wali. For example, what made Jurayj, what put him over the top? Sayyidina Jurayj. Well, what put him over the top is the only thing the Prophet told us about him, which is we know that he was a good abid. But ibadah is ibadah. But what puts you over the top is that the way he handled the woman, right? So he could have turned her away. This is like a very tricky situation. He could have turned her away, therefore harming a human being. Because back in the day, there's no such thing as, oh, there's a hotel right there, whatever, just take shelter, get into the subway. No, it wasn't that. If you turn her away, she could die of pneumonia right there. Okay? If you let her in and you go outside, you die of pneumonia. And Allah says, وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ, don't destroy yourselves either. So that's not mutalab in the Sharia either. So he became inventive. He thought up of something, okay? And that is, you sleep in the room, I'll sleep next to the fireplace. Between me and you is the fire. Such a way that he's always remembering the consequences if you come near this woman who's there trying to tempt him. That's her job. That's what she's trying to do. She's not saying, okay, I'm a pious woman, let me go and put a curtain up. She's trying to tempt him all night long. So when somebody watches the video and says, okay, you didn't tell us how Jurayj became Jurayj. Yes, we did. Right? It's in that Jurayj had a solution to this problem and sat by the fire all night long while a woman is trying to tempt him. Any one of us, 9,999 out of 10,000 people will find this tribulation beyond difficult. Now, keep in mind, there's a period of time where there's no fire. Like he's making the fire now. So what happens between that time and he's making the fire? You can change your mind. Don't be so extreme. It's not necessary. Have husn dhann. How many people can say have husn dhann? She's just out in the cold, right? But he does not let anything pass through. Now, the opposite of him is Barsisa the monk. He's the total opposite. He did not have to take care of this woman. He should have said no. When the brothers who are ignorant, they're ignorant people, they came to him and said, take care. You're so righteous. Take care. You're so righteous. You're still a male. You're still a male. There was a Shaykh there. He said to me that he was sitting with his grandpa. And he said to his grandpa, who's not a Muslim, he said, do passions of a man towards women, do they die with old age? That's what he asked his grandpa. And his grandpa said, they'll die about 6 hours after your death, right? It never ends. So these youth thought, oh, you're righteous, therefore you're no longer have ghariza. You no longer have desires. That's not true at all. No matter how righteous you are, you have desires. No matter how righteous you are, shaitan whispers in your ear. Scholarship is needed, like certainty in Allah's informing us of this. Prophet ﷺ said a man should never be alone in a room with a woman. In this case, Jurayj, he put a fire. They're not alone, right? Put a fire there. But Barsisa accepted the job. He shouldn't have accepted the job. So some people wonder, why'd you put Barsisa, stories of awliya? It's like anti-awliya, right? It's the failure of awliya, or the non-awliya path. You have to highlight that too, because that was his problem. He thought he was above everything else, and that's the way sometimes people go astray. The righteous are not attacked by Iblis. They're not whispered by Iblis to do things like go drink khamr. It's not what's going to resonate with a righteous person. But he became so righteous, and maybe, subhanAllah, Iblis helped him become so righteous to set him up. To set him up for this thing and this idea that you're beyond the law. You're getting inspiration directly from Allah. And can Iblis give us inspiration? The answer is yes. That's why Ilham must be measured by the Sharia. And that's why in the spiritual path, you are highly recommended. If you're doing this seriously, have a Shaykh. You cannot tell me there's no Shaykh that you don't trust. We're not saying you have to have a Shaykh with what they call it, tahkim mutlaq. Like tahkim mutlaq is you just obey him in everything. And most Shaykh, they don't even give orders anymore like that. But you cannot tell me there is no Shaykh that you trust. Are you so special that you're the better than everybody else? Guaranteed, if you're seeking, you shall find. You will find a Shaykh you trust. You say, Shaykh, I get so many visions and inspirations. I need to know what's what. Abdul Qadir al-Jilani. No discussion on the rank of his wilaya. He said he once felt a sakina and a coolness in his chest descending down upon him. And he said, subhanAllah, what is this? Then he heard a voice, Ya Abdul Qadir. So, is this Ilham? Right? We have what is now what is the Ilham saying? That's going to be the judge. He's imitating the sakina that comes down from Allah. Iblis is imitating it. But what is he saying in it? He said, Ya Abdul Qadir, we've lifted legal responsibility from you. We've lifted from you the obligation to follow the Sharia because of your righteousness. Now he knows this is from Iblis. And he is someone who has a malaka over Ilham. He knows. He's mutamakkin. Ikhsa ya la'in. Flee, cursed devil. And then on his way out, now of course that coolness just left. And then on his way out, he turned back and he said, by this trick, I fooled over 70 awliya. He didn't say from Ummati Muhammad, by the way. That's a big difference. This is something very important to know. He didn't say from Ummat Muhammad. Iblis has been working from Ummat Adam alayhi salam. So he may have fooled people from other ummas over the years and centuries. But he says, your knowledge saved you. Now that was also a trick from Iblis, right? And Abdul Qadir immediately yelled back. He said, Allah saved me. Allah saved me. So even you get saved from this trap and this trick, and then you pat yourself on the back, he still defeated you. He maybe didn't get you to believe that you don't have to pray anymore, but at least you praising yourself, you're setting your ego up for another fall. Awliya al-Shaytan, as the 5-8 puts it here, Hamza Hussein. You know him? You don't know Hamza Hussein? You've seen his name. Yeah, he came. Yeah, he came. So he turned out to be Hafiz Hamza Hussein al-Hanafi al-Hyderabadi. So Cinco, we call him now. Just Cinco. 5 H's in a row in his name. Right? So we just call him Cinco. And that's going to just be Cinc for short, eventually. Cinco H, it's a little bit hard to say. Cinco, fair enough. Cinc. No one's going to know what that means. In any event, Barsisa is from Awliya al-Shaytan. And that's why we have to know this. So when people get ilham, and it does happen, ilham does happen. It's Imam al-Haddad says this is just a natural, it's a natural consequence of ibadah and purification of the heart. He says it's as natural in the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a mirror reflecting an image. If the mirror is flat, if the mirror is not cracked, if the mirror is polished, and if there's light in the room, what are the chances that a mirror will not reflect light? 0. That means if your aqeedah is straight, if you have no sins cracking the mirror, if your fitrah is normal, that means you grew up normal. You were not, for example, majnoon. You're not partially majnoon. So that your mirror is straight. It means your aql is sound. And then there's no rust on the mirror, because there can be cracks in the mirror. That takes a lot to fix. And there can be rust on the mirror. That's minor sins. And that's ghafla. And you polish that mirror. You make sure it's straight. You heal all the cracks in it. And then you turn the light on. Is it possible in this world that Allah created? Hukm adi, we call this. Hukm adi. I'll explain that in a second. Is it possible, adatan, that mirror does not reflect your image? No. It is not possible, adatan. Yeah, it's not possible. Adatan means in the way Allah created the world. Aqlan means, is it possible for Allah to create a mirror that doesn't reflect? Yes, it's possible, right? Shar'an, does Allah ever say anything about mirrors? No. So leave that aside. So adatan, hukum adi is in the normal everyday life that we live. And we're responsible to live by hukum adi. Right? So it's not possible for a clean, perfect mirror to not reflect your image when the light's on. Likewise, Imam al-Haddad said, it is also not possible for you to have a sound aqeedah, a sound mind. You eliminated sins for at least 70 days. We're talking about kaba'ir. You didn't do kaba'ir for a period of, we're not going to say 70 days. We're not going to put a number on it. Some period of time. And you worked hard to polish your heart from rust by doing a lot of dhikr, as we do in Ramadan. All day and night, recite a page here and a page there. Recite for an hour. Constantly reciting Quran. Imam al-Haddad said it is not possible that such a heart will not reflect mukashafa. Mukashafa, whatever Allah wants to reveal to you. Of course, now what do we do with it? Now we have to measure it with the law. People who receive these ilham, whether it's a vision of sleep in your sleep or a prayer that just entered your heart, say this, or anything else. It's very good. It's really smart. And it's almost, maybe we could say, necessary to have someone who's been on this path longer than you, better than you, and you consult. Say, this is haqq or batil? And the more sharia you know, the more you could receive ilham. You're safer, right? The more safety belts, airbags, borders on the highway, the faster you can go, right? You can't go fast on a windy road with a cliff and no fence, right? Strong fence. You can't go fast. So people who don't know aqeedah and sharia, Allah doesn't give them much because they could be too easily fooled by Iblis. So this Barsisa, he fell for that. And he took care of the woman. And eventually, Iblis did his work. And it took a long time. People think, oh, within the weekend? La. It's not like that. You'll be good, and this is your new reality that you bring food to her door. That's like the new reality. And you're good with that. That's fine. You're worshiping well. Everything's going fine. But this reality, upon level 1, story number 2 is built. Upon story 2, story 3 is built. After you totally get used to story 3, and that's life now, it's like everyday normal occurrence, then story number 4 is built. And so on and so forth until you reach the committed zina. Now, when you commit a zina once, does someone get pregnant from the first time? Allah punishes them like that from the first time? Of course not. They must have committed zina a lot before she got pregnant. And she got pregnant. SubhanAllah. So that was Barsisa the monk. In episode 3, it was Zainab al-Ghazali, and we just put the link up here. You could read the whole book yourself. And a lot of it has to do with Egyptian history, not Egyptian history, but context in Egypt that you may not be aware of. But Zainab al-Ghazali was a teacher of the Quran. And she was part of the revivalist movement of Hassan al-Banna. I don't know if she met Hassan al-Banna. And of course, Egyptians get a little bit extra. Many Egyptians may be watching this and you're going to be offended because I'm citing Hassan al-Banna. You're being a bit extra. The originals were very pious people. Yes, Sayyid Qutb even had a lot of things in his book that academically we could probably disagree with. I'm not going to deny that, right? But directionally speaking, he was in the context he was in, he was on the right track, directionally speaking. You know how the Qibla in Maliki fiqh, you just have to face the quadrant. So if I'm standing here and Mecca is here, so I have my X and my Y, right? And Mecca is in that quadrant. As long as I'm within that quadrant, I get 45-degree error both ways. That's a lot of wiggle room. When facing complete kufr and secularism that they were facing, just directionally supporting the Quran and the Sunnah, it's rewardable, right? And she had, and I don't believe she lied. I'll tell you why I don't believe she lies. She's not coming from a tradition that really believes in dreams a lot, right? That tradition that she came, that background, is not like some of the backgrounds we're accustomed to, where the divine visions or visions and dreams, it's like we all talk about it all the time. If she came out of that environment, you say, oh, okay, maybe she's making stuff up, right? She's not coming from that environment. And on top of that, if someone's going to lie, wouldn't you want to lie your way out of being tortured? Like, what are you gaining 30 years later? You're going to lie 30 years later so people who read your book, your autobiography, can be impressed with you. But you wouldn't lie to get yourself out of the torture? So I personally believe the stories. And subhanAllah, during the trial, when she was put in jail, and a lot of them were put in jail, and I just read about 40 pages of this again, she saw many, many mubashirat, a lot of visions and dreams. Let me try to pull one up here. One of them was very simple. She said she saw the Prophet ﷺ on her first night in jail. Now think about this. You're a woman, you teach Quran, you go to different mosques, you teach Quran to the women, you go to homes. Jail is not something that you're not cut out for this, right? So just to be in jail is a scary thing. And even in fiqh, what is an excuse to skip Jummah even? Is if you're going to be illegally jailed. Right? What's a darura? Life and death. Darura and haja. So a haja is severe hardship. What's severe hardship? The threat of jail. The threat of jail is enough for a righteous man. For a noble man, the threat of jail is a haja. Therefore, what is forbidden becomes lawful for you. SubhanAllah. He says, she said, I saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, you, Zainab Ghazali, are on the truth. Like when you see the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam like that, telling you you're by name, you start feeling like, I'm not going to give in. And when you see how these people don't give in, you see, this is why. Because she said that on the court date, the day where she went for her sham trial, where she's going to be seen by all these photographers, the media is going to be there, she's going to be humiliated in front of everybody. She again reports that she saw a vision of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And before she saw that, she saw herself in the courtroom. And that courtroom, suddenly, the walls fell and the ground changed and the sky changed, everything changed, and it became a garden of paradise. It was this beautiful green grass, as soft as a rug, surrounded by a garden. And then an announcement saying, in this abode, the unjust will be taken into account. So Allah Ta'ala showed her a vision of the afterlife, in which there's going to be another court. And then she was shown a hill. But it was a hill of paradise, so it was a rug. It was a beautiful rug, but it was a hill. And she was told, go up that hill. So she goes up that hill, and she sees some of the leaders that were also arrested. And she said, and they said, we're here now. We're in this garden. And that's because they are soon to be martyred. They will be the ones who get the death penalty. You got to read this book. When you read it, I'm telling you, you won't be able to put it down. It's only 200 pages, and it's a PDF. You know that story I told on episode 3, where I said that they sent the dogs on her, and immediately when she looked down, that there was no blood, no wounds, no anything. Now these are Muslim-born people, right? So guess what happened? They took her to another room, and then they went and reported, and she overheard them reporting. She doesn't have any wounds on her. Her clothes is the same. That's what the guard is reporting. The guy comes out, you won't believe this. He opens the door and he says to her, now you're going to do karamat on us? He knows this stuff. He said, kufr is weird. It's like, how can you know this stuff? You see it in front of you. And his reply and his answer to this is, now you're going to do karamat? SubhanAllah, like if you see that, now you know why the Prophet Saleh was asked, bring us a miracle. He brought a miracle. A rock burst open and a 9-month-old camel came out. That's what they said we want to bring. They thought the most ridiculous thing. What is the most ridiculous thing you think of? I tell you, bring me a Mercedes out of this wall. That's, for them, that's what it was. And then boom, wall opens up and a Mercedes comes out. And you're still going to be a kafir, right? So miracles don't work for most people. They don't. Allah shows us this to show us that there is no quick fix in iman. They have to want it. They have to choose it. SubhanAllah. They started calling her all sorts of names. They went to flog her again. I mean, she suffered unspeakable amounts of torture. I mean, for a man, you couldn't do this. For a man, you couldn't handle this. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, it's told in Risalat al-Mustarshideen, the great Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he was seen on the eve of his punishment, mahmum, with his, just in a pensive position, unhappy position. And somebody asked him, what is it? He said, being in jail, no problem. Being killed, not a problem. I just fear that I will not. My body won't have patience with the lashes, because this is dhulm, right? It's oppression. They're not lashing you with shar'i lashes. What is shar'i lashes? Shar'i lashes is that it's the lash that is acceptable in the Sharia. How Allah commands us when someone deserves to be hit because they broke some law. How do you do it? You can only use one joint. When someone hits, like a golf swing or a baseball swing, or you can use your wrist, your elbow, your shoulder, and your hip. So you use all that torque into the lash. And what else? The pullback. 5 things. Of this, you can only use either your elbow or your shoulder when you lash. You cannot use all 5 of these things and be like the transatlantic slave trade you see in the movies. The guy takes a big ox tail, right, and whips the guy, and it leaves a mark of blood right there. That's not the lashes that, if you're going to hit, and we're allowed to hit, if that's the law, right? If the law states that someone's going to get hit, they're going to get hit. If you get caught, remember there was a member of the House of Representatives, and his son was doing a study abroad in Singapore, and he did graffiti. Singapore graffiti, you get caught doing graffiti in Singapore, you get 4 hits. So the whole country, the whole nation of the United States, right, was up in arms because this pretty boy, little rich kid, is going to get hit I'm like, why are you going to Singapore? Why don't you save us Arab kids first, right? Have you seen how we get hit, right? Poor Pakistani kids in Teaneck, in Chicago, you get it 10 times worse than this. The whole nation. It's like, I thought we were going to send the army, right, to Singapore to stop this. They had diplomatic cables sent. They had the ambassadors. They had all sorts of craziness. Marches in front of the Singapore embassy because some kid is going to get hit. Now, they're imagining transatlantic slave trade lashes. I think that's what they were thinking. Huh? Which you guys did yourselves. Your grandpa did that himself, and now you're upset. When they got to the lashes, when they finally brought the footage, the guy was made to lay down on his face, right? And they had a guy wearing a mask doing the lashes by the Sharia, only the shoulder. And he lashed him like that. Boom, 2, 3, 4. I'm like, after all that, that's the lash that he got. I wouldn't even be deterred, right? I know some people, that's it. So I can graffiti my name, and that's all I'm going to get? So I'm telling you, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal knew they're not going to do Shara'i lashes. They're going to do lashes in the unlawful way. So they're taking him out of the cell, and they're going there to get the lashes. When he passes by Abu Haytham, and Abu Haytham was one of the worst criminals of Baghdad. And thereupon, they're crossing paths, and he says, "Yeah, Imam, right? Why do you look so upset about this? Don't worry. I've taken 400 lashes for the sake of Iblis. I'm sure you can handle 40 for the sake of Allah. Be strong." I think Abu Haytham may be forgiven for that. Because we always talk about everyone who reads that chapter in Ibn al-Qayyim's book and Risalat ibn... Sorry, this is not in Risalat al-Mustarshidin. It's in the footnote of Risalat al-Mustarshidin because they were contemporaries, right? So I need to clarify that. It was in the footnote of Risalat al-Mustarshidin citing Ibn al-Qayyim on the section on as-sabru fillah, being patient for the sake of Allah. So he cites this story. And Imam Ahmad lit up. He knew Allah made him speak. Allah made us cross paths and made him speak. He knew everything's going to be fine. That Allah knew what he was thinking and sent somebody to speak those words to him. And who's going to have experience with lashes? Not another good person. Another good person not going to get 400 lashes. So the worst guy in Baghdad, right? That's like you go to jail and you end up next to some mob serial killer, right? Who's killed people all day and all night for the mob. So this guy, this man says that, and Imam Ahmad, they asked him afterwards, and he said he felt the first one, and that's all he felt. He went to sleep. Didn't feel anything else. So Allah had mercy on him. He only felt one lash. SubhanAllah.
Story of
yes.
Zainab really reminds me of
Afia Siddiqui, you know what? I got to be honest with you. I need to know the truth about this story. It's ittirab, muttarib. When you hear so many different reports about Afia Siddiqui, some like, I don't know, is she innocent? Is she not innocent? I don't get what the story is, right? I don't know what her story is, to be honest with you. Can you get us a source where we could actually just read? And I've seen lately, I do support her because I've seen righteous people who would have fact-checked it are supportive. So I'm supportive of it. I just don't know the story, right? And that's not on any of it's on me for not researching. I should research it. I want to get you some of these visions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam because that's special. That's special. One of the youth ended up in jail one time, and he saw a vision of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, "Aren't you going to get up and try to get yourself out of jail?" And the youth answered with an amazing answer. He said, "Well, if jail got me a vision of you, maybe not." SubhanAllah. SubhanAllah. Let's see.
It's these like Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal.
Yep.
This lady and like Habib Muhammad bin Salim and Hafid.
Mm-hmm.
SubhanAllah, like they could have stayed home.
Yep.
Out of the hajj of being scared of jail.
Mm-hmm.
They saw Hidayat al-Nas, Durura.
It is a darura.
Mandatory.
It's certain people, such as Imam Ahmad, he has a greater responsibility. If he because why? Because he's viewed by all the society as the Imam. So he cannot. He can't. SubhanAllah.
They mentioned in Shafi'i fiqh that in self-defense,
Yeah.
the bab of self-defense, that a scholar has to defend himself to death.
Has to. SubhanAllah.
Other people don't, unless
Yeah.
like it's your wife or a woman that you're taking care of. You have to defend them to.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
yourself, you don't have to.
SubhanAllah.
But
SubhanAllah. All right, she says, in the exuberance of all this, I had a vision. Standing in a court, I was told it was about to pronounce its judgment upon us, but suddenly the walls of the court vanished, and I instead found myself standing in a huge yard, the surface of which was the entire earth. Then heaven fell on earth the way a tent would fall to the ground, and light filled the whole earth, linking the heaven to the earth. Thereupon I saw the Prophet ﷺ standing in front of me in the direction of the Qibla. And I was behind him. And I heard him said, listen, Zainab, to the voice of the truth. Together we listened to a voice that filled the heavens and the earth. Here the courts of falsehood will be held, and the despots will be sentenced. Okay. For their unjust and undue case against you. SubhanAllah. You are the trust holders and leaders of the way. See, that's what we're talking about. This woman, Zainab al-Ghazali, was famous when this happened. So you are a woman of the Quran, and everyone views you as the woman of the Quran. It's not about whether you think you have knowledge. It's not about whether you're right about everything. How do people view you? They view you as Sahibul Deen, what you are the carrier of the religion. That's how the people view you. So in any situation where you're viewed in that way, you have a greater responsibility. When the voice stopped, I looked at the Prophet ﷺ, who pointed to his right. I looked and saw a rope that reached up to the heaven, but it was a carpet covered with green grass. And he said, climb this mountain, and there you will find so and so and so and so. And there she saw the leaders of her group. Okay. The leader. Then the Prophet ﷺ lifted his hand towards the mountain, and I found myself climbing it with ease. As I was climbing, I met so and so and so and so other people in the book, right? And I asked them, "Are you with us on the way?" And they said yes. And then I left them, and I continued climbing. And then I met another person, and I asked them, "Are you with us on the way?" She said yes. And I continued higher, climbing higher, and then I reached the whole top of the mountain, where I found a plain surface, flat surface, in the middle of which was a court, meaning rugs, sofas, pillows, and in the middle was our leader. And he greeted me clearly, happy to see me, meaning that's the top, right? He said, I have been sent by the Prophet ﷺ to deliver a few words as a trust and amana from him. Okay. All right. He explained that he had already received. Oh, she is saying that to him. He explains that I already received what you're about to tell me. And then we sat, right? And I looked at the bottom of the mountain, and I saw two naked women on a train. Right? What is that? Temptations of the dunya. The train passing by is the dunya, and the naked women is the temptation. And I said to him, do you oppose them? And he said, yes. Do you think that what we have attained is due to our efforts? This paradise that we have attained is not due to our efforts. It's not due to our opposing these tyrants. It's due to the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who let us have this strength to do this. Now she woke up, and she said, the feeling which now came over me was one of unencumbered peace, rest, and tranquility. This vision washed away all my pain, and drove away all the fear and sorrow in my heart. This is what the true visions do. They literally highlight, delete. They take the pain in your heart, highlight, delete. That's it. You wake up from those visions and you don't know what happened. Like nothing on the earth happens. No, but you had surgery. You had surgery. The nur of Allah Ta'ala comes and does surgery in your heart. The pain that's in your heart, the anxiety, all the hardships that you just went to. Highlight it, delete it. That's it. You wake up and you don't know what happened. Not only that, you have energy. When you were down, depressed, can't move, can't do anything, suddenly you're jumping with energy. And your rivals, your adversaries, everyone will be like, what? How's he doing this? And I'm sure that her enemies in court and everything, how is this happening? Or why aren't they depressed? Why are they so full of energy? She says here, and she cites from the Quran, those who have left their homes or been driven out or suffered harm in my cause or fought or been slain, I'll blot out their iniquities and admit them into gardens with rivers flowing beneath, a reward from the presence of Allah. And she went to trial. And there were 43 people at trial, but 42 only stood trial on the day of trial. Why is that? Because one of them decided to work with the government. So one of them backed out. And he said he'll in exchange for his freedom, he'll tell them whatever he wants, whatever they want. So he fell for a major, this is a massive betrayal, and shahadat zur, and i'anat al-zalim, and all these other things. Terrible. Is Ryan's mic on? All right, let's take some Q&A. And you know what, if I could possibly spend some more time on this book tomorrow, I will. But right now, I don't want to look for things while people are waiting. But we will tomorrow cover more of this, because this is really, subhanAllah, there something that gives your heart so much strength. And I mean, like, these people, that's like torture. What do we have here? What are we facing here? You know, Omar, can you put realistic image? See if that changes things. Realistic image of whatever you're searching. All right. Muazzam Beg. Muazzam Beg is another person that has a story like this. Okay, we'll look it up. Cage is a website that documents a lot of these things. All right, let's look that up. Okay, Cage International. Yeah, we'll look this up. A British Pakistani who's held extrajudicial detention. Muazzam Beg, Afia Siddiqui. How about, subhanAllah, our guy Sayyid? I mean, he might go back to jail. I mean, the guys, it's like very clear from the evidence that they showed that he has nothing to do with this whole thing. How could the nur of Allah enter creation, says Jack. That nur is a created nur, of course. Allah is nuru samawati wal ard, meaning he's the head of as-samawati wal ard. That's a great picture, Omar. You just need to, with the text, cover his Christian-looking hands. He's praying like a Christian. You can cover that up with something, right? But Nuru Allahu nuru samawati wal ard, meaning he's the head of the samawati. He's the guide. He is not a physical nur, of course. We don't believe in jismiya for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَنْ قَالَ بِالْجِسْمِيَّةِ فَقَدْ كَفَرْ. Who says Allah has a jism in the Maliki method, هذا ردة مرتد. In the Maliki school, you can look in the Sharh al-Kabir. Hashid al-Zasuqi. على الشرح الكبير. باب الردة, the first thing you're going to get is مثل من قال إن الله جسم. So neither Allah nor any of his attributes is a physical body. So what I taught the kids at the high school that I taught at Tanzih. Then what's the point of being against idols then, right? If we just believe that God is an idol or God is something physical. So, but the tajalliyat, the manifestations of his will, come in the form of physical things. And from that is an-nur. An-nur, they say, it is a physical thing, but it's something that is jism latif, very subtle. It's a very subtle light, physicality. Its material is very subtle. We can't see it. But it is a thing. And Allah may thrusts it in the heart of the believer. And in fact, Habib Umar says something different. He said, the nur of Allah is always there. It is always there in the kawn. The question is your heart open to it? And what station is it open to? Like a radio. If there's a radio broadcast, the waves are there. When you turn your radio and you put your antenna on, you're not attracting the waves. The waves are there. But your antenna is now capable of receiving it. And then what kind of radio channel you're going to get? It's based on the station that you're in. So likewise, Anwarullah are filling the kawn. The question is are our hearts clean enough to receive them? That's the question. So that's a good question by Jack here of how can the light of Allah enter the creation. That is a created light. Albert Rick, make dua for me. I'm going through some serious illness. Yeah, Albert, may Allah give you shifa. As'alullah al-azim rabbil arsh al-azim an yashfiyah. Say that 7 times. And say the ayat al-shifa. We need to do a recording of ayat al-shifa. What music is permissible in sama' circles? Some said all of it, but I don't believe in that fatwa. That's true. Shaykh Mahmoud Shabib told me, some of the Sufiyas say, as long as sama' and its praise of Allah, it's all halal. He said he didn't agree with it either. He's just saying to me as a piece of information that some people did say that. We don't believe in that. We do not believe in that. And we just say in the sama', this sharia applies. The sama' is no sama' for those who don't know. It's a session sitting down to remember Allah, including reciting poetry and qasidas and singing songs. So we say that in general is permitted and allowed. But the sharia still applies. There's no change that's going to happen here. Not going to suddenly something become halal. Have you seen Omar Sulaiman's latest Ramadan video? He mentioned the karamat of Omar. Oh, we're mentioning them too. We got a section on Sayyidina Omar too, so maybe we're overlapping here. Advice for a woman in an abusive marriage. Go talk to your wali. A woman is not created to defend herself against this stuff. Contact your wali. You need a wali. No one can be your wali. Pay him. Right? Wali is nothing different than a lawyer. Right? By Sharia. But he has to be a Muslim knowledgeable of Sharia. Like in the Sharia, the idea of a wali is like a lawyer. It's like a defender. Let's say you're a convert, you don't have a father who's a Muslim or anything like that. Omar, we need some red and yellow on this because there's too much gray. Yeah, red and yellow. Pay him. Ask some of the Muslims to give you zakah or to cover you until you can pay him back. And then you pay. You will get a guy who can protect you from your abusive husband until you can get out of this marriage and leave the house completely. No one says you have to stay there and be beaten. Khalas, he hasn't fulfilled his duty as a husband. So you don't even need to pay him back khula. You know, khula is when you pay him some to free you. That's when he hasn't done anything wrong. But if the function and the role of the husband is to protect you from harm and to feed you and to sustain you and all that stuff, and then he doesn't do that, then he's lost his haqq. And the Qadi can separate between the two. And in the Maliki school, an Imam can separate between the two. Saying that nur is physical is like saying the heart is an organ. Well, it is an organ, right? Yes, nur is a substance. The nur is a creation, which is a substance. It's unseen to us, and it descends down and is all over the universe that Allah created. And whether we have access to it or not is the question. But like malaika, our malaika, what are they? Imagination?
And soul.
Ar-ruh, is it imagination? What is the ruh? Unseen? La, of course not. It has a jism, latif, very subtle matter. What is very subtle. It's not kathif. We are jism kathif, thick matter, right? The ruh is extremely subtle, but it is composed of something. What's the proof that it's composed of something? When you remove it out of the body changes. So therefore they worked it backwards, and they said the ruh, the body gets cold, therefore the ruh has heat. They say the body gets dry, therefore the ruh has moisture. And they say the body no longer has life, therefore life is in the ruh. If you take that brain and you plug it into something, or you think you're going to get the person's thoughts and download them? No. Information, knowledge, everything, personality is not found in a physical element. The physical element is merely needed in order to reflect in this world the personality of the ruh. So personality, sense of humor, knowledge, memory, all of that exists in the ruh, not in the body. Does not exist in the body. This science fiction, essentially, science fiction that we could take someone's brain, we could plug it in, and we could download their personality into a computer. It's science fiction. That's why it's called fiction. It's the body is like the screen. Like Ahmad is sitting, he's got a desktop computer with a screen. Now, if he's got all his files opened up, and then I take a hammer and I break his screen, the monitor, have I broken the files? Of course not. The screen is nothing other than a means by which for him to see the files. The files are not there. I could take that screen, break it into 1,000,000 pieces, and the next day get another screen and the same files pop up. The files are not there. The files are in the hard drive. They're in the desktop. Same thing with the ruh. Everything is in the ruh. The body is just a mechanism by which the ruh can behave, can act in this world, can live in this world. Once it leaves, khalas, has no need for the body, and it will, all of the personality and the consciousness still exists in the ruh alone. Then on Yawm al-Qiyamah it gets put into another body, a better body, hopefully. It could be a worse body if you're evil. Do you have to live with your wali? No, you don't have to live with your wali. And sometimes the wali is on the side of the abuser. Well, you can fire that wali, get another wali. We're talking about people who don't have family and they need a wali. You're not stuck with him. You chose him. You can unchoose him. You're no longer my wali. Same in Shafi fiqh. You're no longer my wali. You're not serving my needs. Okay, but convert. She should go to, she will get anyone, right? There's no tartib for her. What is it?
Like, so if your wali is a kafir,
Yeah.
that's a sabab of salb al-wali.
Yes.
To the next
Salb
level.
al-wilaya. Yes.
The next person.
Next
so
person.
If your dad is a kafir,
Yeah.
but your grandpa is a Muslim,
Mm-hmm.
it goes to your grandpa. If your grandpa is not a Muslim too, then it goes to your brother. Shaqiq. And then, right. So that's a sabab of salb. And then there's 20 asbab of it going straight to the hakim, skipping the next step.
Exactly. So you have an order of things, but in the absence of all those people, you're going to go to your imam, and he has to help you. It's one of the jobs of an imam. He doesn't have to be your wali, but he has to help you find a wali. He can't be a wali to everybody. How does Safina Society view Rumi? There's no view. I never have once picked up a book of Rumi. Why? Because of these perennialists and popcorn Sufi types who have adopted him and taken him. They're the publishers of all his books. You ask the Hanafis of Afghanistan, and they have great things to say about him. So clearly there's something going on with the translations, like Coleman Barks, and they say his translation is a disaster. I don't know, right?
Abdul Hakim Murad is good because he speaks, he did a PhD.
See what Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad says? That's probably our conclusion too. But the thing is that it's hard to read translated poetry, right? I can't do it, personally speaking. Yeah. Secondly, the whole translation is dhanni dalal in the first place. Mashkuk fiha. It's doubted. I doubt it, to be honest with you. Jack, I think Rumi's poetry contains some kufr. Yeah, no, you should say the translation may have contained some kufr. Right? We don't know really what he said. And all I've heard from the Muslims is that he was like a Qadi, he was a Hanafi faqih. He was not what these post-hippie movement people claim him to be.
They even say he was gay.
They even try to make him and Shams al-Tabriz to be homosexuals. They want everybody to be gay. I mean, that's like one of the most ridiculous things you're ever going to hear. Why do they want everyone to be gay? Because they got one generation at this. The gay movement's up. You got one shot because you're not producing kids, right? There's not going to be a nice family photo, right, of 3 generations of gays, right? Your nasab is cut. Your nasab is cut. You're not passing anything down. Therefore, they got one shot to make the whole world gay real quick before their lineage dies off. And the whole movement, I guarantee, I've been saying this for a long time, there's going to come a day we're all going to look around and say, where are all the homosexuals? Where are all the trans? Where'd they go? They just like disappeared. Yeah, because anything that is not passed down from father and son, give it 30, 40 years, it's gone. There have been far bigger movements that also relied upon propaganda like communism. I mean, they had a government. They had a humongous government. They creamed everyone in the Olympics. They did Sputnik. They did a lot of things that scared a lot of civilizations. They went to war, far greater than the LGBT movement. And it's all based on a belief. As soon as the moment that generation fails or goes down, it's done for. We need the Ugandan. What's his name? The greatest journalist in Uganda, in Africa, in the entire Eastern Hemisphere, and maybe possibly the best journalists on the planet. Okay? There you go. Okay?
You are gay. You are a transgender.
What shows that?
He doesn't even know what's what. Omar, put it up for everyone to see. Put it up for everyone to see. Because if you don't know him, this man is in the Hall of Fame of interviews. If you don't know him, you must be living under a rock. If you don't know this Ugandan journalist, who's one of the greatest journalists in the world, he's got the biggest Hall of Fame interview, 36 million views, and that's only on this channel because this is not like a copyrighted station that knows how to chase its rights. This video is everywhere. Click.
We bring in the studio this morning one of the gay rights activists, Mr. Should I call you Mr? Pepe Julian Onzima. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for
Good morning.
Morning to you.
Why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay. You are a transgender.
What shows that I'm gay?
You are a transgender, and
Yes,
you're
I
a gay rights activist and an outspoken lesbian, homosexual. How can I describe you? Now we're looking
He's
at
as
the
confused
raging
as all of
debate.
us.
You're a gay rights activist. Why should someone be gay? You're having a girlfriend.
Yes.
Do you perform the natural obligations?
I'm not sexually active right now.
So what are you
By
doing with
choice.
this lady?
He's like, so what's the
By
point of
choice.
all this?
I've just not. I've chosen not to engage.
Doesn't that make you gay?
What do you mean? Doesn't that make me gay? I am male and attracted to a female.
So who is gay?
Who's on first? You know who's on first? You know that skit? Oh my gosh. Back in the day, there was Who's on First. You guys remember that? Who's on first? What's on second? How's on third? Right? But the guy's name is Who. So the skit is like, the guy's name is Who. So who's on first? Who. Well, I'm asking you who. That's what this is. It's all who's on first. And so it became like a phrase. When you're so confused, you just say who's on first. You never heard of Who's on First, Omar?
Baseball puns.
You got to get the skit Who's on First. Way back in the day.
Oh, I think I know what you're
Yeah. Way back in the day, that skit was like the greatest skit of all time, right? The guy on first, his name is Who. The guy on second, his name is What. And the guy on third, his name is How, right? So who's on first? Who? Well, I'm asking you who. I'm telling you who, right? Like that. And that's what this pronoun thing has become for a normal person. You get a normal guy, he's got no clue what's going on, to interview this person. His fitra is like completely confused. How can you even sell a product that nobody can understand? So let's take it honestly, genuinely. If you're a trans that went from female to male and you're attracted to females, then you are gay. You're a lesbian who's playing make-believe to be a man. The Democratic Party is going to get a makeover, by the way. You could start seeing the signs of it. The liberal side of things is going to get a makeover. They cannot possibly win if all they care about is gays, transgender, abortion. Even if you say there's a moral reason for abortion, and we can discuss that, no problem. Politically speaking, you're only talking, when you talk about abortion, to a very small minority of the people who vote, who are of childbearing age, who want an abortion, right? So it's not, politically speaking, you're isolating so many people who don't care about the subject. It doesn't touch their lives. So even politically, it's not as smart to put it so high up in the ballot, in the priority. They have to do it, or else they're never going to win again. They have to have a complete change. And I've said it before, I think one of the leaders of that change is going to be Stephen A. Smith. And you know who else? Andrew Schultz. And you know who else? Bill Maher, who I hate too because of his atheist stuff and his Israel stuff. And I've always hated Bill Maher. But this guy, he's like so done with the left. He's like, this is like, it's become so absurd. So they're going to have a complete change of culture. And probably, I would think, if Trump is not running, J.D. Vance is running, he's not winning. If they could do it in 4 years, then I could see Democrats winning again. If they could change the culture slowly and put up somebody who regular guys can relate to and would like to listen to, they'll win, because J.D. Vance is not winning. He cannot galvanize. He doesn't have the face. He doesn't have he's got nothing. He's got nothing. Even in this Zelensky thing, he says they're saying it sounding like a second grade teacher. Have you said thank you once? What is this? Are you sound like a mom talking to her teenage daughter? He literally, in my view, he killed himself by saying that. Have you said thank you once? Like, what are you, like a mom talking to your teenage kid? You killed yourself. That's what I think. Now, I think that's as a passive viewer of politics, that's what you got to keep your eye out. The transformation of the liberal culture to move away from what has proven to cause them to lose the White House, despite how hated Trump is. You still couldn't win, right? And it's not he's just hated, he's also loved by his people. He's got a cult following. He was able to build that up and create that. But there were plenty of people who loathed him so much that you should have been able to win. And the whole woke thing is dead too. Kamala Harris killed it when she said, be woke, be woker, be the wokest, but be woke. So when you have someone talking like that, you just killed wokeness with one sentence. It's done for, I'm telling you. And you know, the Breakfast Club, that guy, he needs to get his head examined. He keeps drinking the left-wing Kool-Aid, and they're laughing at him now. He's supposed to be the cutting edge, right? He's supposed to be the cutting edge of what's cool. He's getting laughed at for just being totally off and drinking the Kool-Aid. So these are all little signs that there's a change coming to the left. And that change will bring it back to the middle. And if they can get somebody who's just commonsensical, talking sense, and has the ability to attract an audience, they'll win again in 2020. They'll win it back in 2028. Now, unless there's only one thing. If Trump changes the rules and gets a third term, kiss it goodbye. He's winning again. If he does that. But I think he won't do that, number one. And he could possibly die in office, number two. And it'll be J.D. Vance in 2028. It really should be a layup. But they got 4 years to fix the culture and put up a candidate who people like to watch and listen to. Not Waltz, Harris, Biden. These are all fails. Oh, gosh, Hillary Clinton. All complete fails. There's no going back. If you don't win the podcast world, you don't win the election. That's what it was. Trump went around to all the podcasts with no script. No one's watching 60 Minutes anymore. If you look at the interviews that Harris did, 60 Minutes, these stiff, curated interviews, those views versus the podcast world, which is just a bunch of people sitting in chairs with no script. That's what got far more views than the scripted stuff. And if you can't sit there raw and just talk, you're not going to win. People see through this stuff. I remember talking to one marketing person from LA, and they were saying to me that in TikTok, it separated itself for only trying to go after genuine videos. So I said, well, what does that mean? He's like, stuff that wasn't scripted, wasn't planned. I said, well, how would the algorithm know? And he said the algorithm will look at like the quality of the video and if it's shaking or not, right? And if it is, then it's a genuine video, right? And then they'll elevate that. But if it's like a camera like this and it's not so, it may not be so elevated because basically it's going for what's genuine. That's where people are. If they don't get this, right? If the left doesn't get this and the new candidates don't get that, they're going to lose again. Sanders, no, I think his thing is shot. He's going to be too old about this, for this. His thing is shot. No, if you ask me, I don't know if he has what it takes, but he should go for it. Stephen A. Smith. Yep. He should go for it. I don't know what he has what it takes. He may create a different style where he's straight and brash, but he doesn't make enemies. And that might be far more appealing to people too, because people like someone who's a straight, genuine, straight talker with common sense. But they may not like to have so many enemies. So I think he could do it. And this whole idea, oh, he doesn't know anything. What do you need to know? What do you need to know? You need to know how to connect to the regular person in a campaign of 1.5 years. How to connect, how to be smart, how to use the media, how to take advantage of every situation, how to have serious toughness because they're going to dig up dirt about you, right? How to spin everything. So this guy's been in media his whole life. He knows how to do all that stuff. How to spin it. Then once you get into office, you have so many experts sitting around you, right? You're just going to direct where we headed. Now, I don't know if he's got the same executive abilities. I don't know if he has executive abilities, but he definitely has media abilities, and he could dominate the airwaves because he also knows the value of conflict, and he'll engage in conflict. But I also think because he's been at the establishment, ESPN, he also knows how not to rock the boat too much. Like, what is the right amount of rocking the boat? Couple more questions. Where does he stand on Israel? Well, I know where he has to stand. If he goes into politics, he's going to have to be pro-Israel, or else he's going to be shot down. I don't think this is the issue that he's going to be a trailblazer in. I don't think so. I don't think he's going to be a trailblazer and say, no, enough America first, we're not going to give Israel money. No. That's why I'm saying I don't know. I think that it's 2025. By 2027, he will have sharpened his position on things. He's going to have a position on a lot. Yeah.
I think they don't know who Stephen A. Smith is.
Oh, these British people don't know who Stephen A. Smith is.
If you ask what's his stand on Israel, you probably don't know who Stephen Smith is.
He's never talked about foreign affairs. Stephen A. Smith is a sports commentator who's turning into a political commentator who has been dropping hints.
We're getting him, by the way.
Yeah, almost trying to actually get him on the live stream. that'll probably be the end of his political career. But Stephen A. Smith is a sports guy who's starting to get into. I think he's dominated sports talk in the whole world. He doesn't care about it anymore. So I think what excites him now is the fact that people are saying he can win.
He's actually getting into it.
Oh, he's getting into
I
it.
thought you made this meme.
No.
Real meme.
No. If you go to his actual personal YouTube channel, not ESPN, the personal YouTube channel, it's all politics.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he even went on Fox News, and they said to him, "You know that right now, you get 3% of the vote." They told him that, right? They polled people, and they said you would get 3% of the vote. If he got 3% of the vote, and he hasn't really started trying yet, there's something going on. Now, here's the thing: he's going to have to come in and really stand for something. We don't know what is it that he stands for. Right now, all he's saying is Democrats cannot win with this degree of naivete and this degree of still thinking that, having these crazy priorities that they have. That's what he's saying now. He's like, wake up and smell the coffee. That's what he's trying to sell the left. But he doesn't have a platform yet. Like, what are you standing for? Right? He's got to cook that up. I'm not saying I'm going to go for him, but I'm just saying that he's probably going to be definitely he is already one of the people remaking the culture of the left to move it back into the center to normal things that everyone can discuss. Right? It is now 3:20. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we got to stop here. And tomorrow, really, we'll try to get more deep into Zainab al-Ghazali's stories, little clips, because people really love that. And the whole YouTube series has been far more successful than I thought. Like they're getting so many messages that people love it, and they're showing their teenage kids, and their teenage kids had never heard these stories. But even many Muslims haven't heard all these stories. See, I always try to remember, just because I may have heard something 50 times and you heard it 10 times and you heard it 20 times, does not mean that's not reflective of everyone else. Right? That's not reflective. That's why when I chose some of these stories, some of them we may have heard them. Yeah. Jurayj, Barsisa, Bukhari, Malik, we're going to cover those. But but we're not reflective of everybody else. And we're targeting an audience that is like, this is the first time they even heard what wali is. The singular is wali, the plural is awliya. They haven't even heard of, that's who we're targeting. People they've never even heard what that word means. So, by the way, we need you to subscribe to the channel. Let's see how we're doing on this subject, man. Oh, we are at 99.1 subs. Let's get the exact number. So, you know that Taimur here, he had this idea in his head. We're going to hit 100K subs in Ramadan. And I'm like, we're way off that. He's like, no, we can do it. And we're doing it. Before the 15th of Ramadan, probably, right? So we're at 99,157. I wish I could see who the subs are so I can know who was number one. Probably was me. But who was who was number one and who was number 99999? You know, just out of curiosity. But aren't they supposed to give me a plaque?
They will once you get 100.
I need that plaque. I don't know if I'm on good terms with YouTube. And I need to send, there were 3 people who were involved when YouTube came after us that one time. Huh? Ammar was not here. Taimur was here. This was his first week. 3 people helped. 2 people maybe 4. 2 people in YouTube helped us out big time. And I was like, I got to send them like a fruit basket. But I'm like, who sends fruit baskets anymore? It's not 1990 anymore, right? What am I going to send them? And I never sent them anything. I feel terrible about it. And then there was a sister who helped us too. She helped us get in contact with them, and she really worked the phones to get us in touch with people. And unfortunately, I went after that Imam who said that you don't have to believe in the Prophet on his khutbah, right? And unfortunately, that's her family friend, right? Right. So that was like really, I felt bad that now she can't really be involved with Safine's side anymore because her family friend, right? And they believe it's unjust, too. But I'm like quoted the khutbah. That's it. Quoting the khutbah. That's what he said, right? And it's totally wrong. I'm sorry. That's not up for discussion. It's not something that we have to respect each other's differences. That's the thing about certain things. You cross the red line. To say that Yahud and Nasara are mukhatabina bi kutubihim. They're only to be judged by their books. What does that mean? And then to say that the Ash'ari position is that if you didn't hear about the Prophet ﷺ, you're forgiven. That's our position, right? You never got the Risala. He said, now that's not his position. His position is they're only to be judged by their books, heard or not heard. Whether they heard or whether they didn't hear. أليس هذا بالكفر؟ أليس هذا كفر؟ 100% kufr. Right? Let's say you don't believe in him. To take down your video then. Right? Tell everyone you don't believe that. So unfortunately, that turned out to be her family friend. And therefore, not so great relations anymore, unfortunately. And I actually...
You might have to pull,
Yeah, go ahead.
you might have to pull that Hakeem Elijah one though.
Which is what?
Isn't the plaque that they send you made out of gold?
No, it's aluminum.
It's aluminum.
Yeah.
That was cheap.
Yeah, it's aluminum.
That's good.
It's like, you know what it looks like? It looks like a MacBook, but with a YouTube mirror on it. It looks just like this.
It'll pale compared to all these problems.
No, I know.
It won't even.
I know. What was Hakeem Olajuwon's thing?
He got the NBA ring.
Yeah.
And he sold it.
Oh, he sold it.
Sold on it.
Wow.
Got rid of it.
The YouTube thingy looks like this, exactly. But it's smaller than this. Size of, actually, it's like this. Size of an iPad. Because they want people to put it, and it has a little triangle. That's it. Right? I guess we'll put it up for a week or something. GRT. What is our status with GRT? GRT, we focus on Syria. Give us a shout out for GRT. Let's move them up since we got 250 people on the stream here right now. Are you playing this now? Okay, just put the link up. What number are we at for GRT? We're revamping our page, by the way, on GRT. But let's see what the number is right now. Okay, they're still putting it together. Yeah, they're still putting it together. Put up the old link. Put the old link, and let's give them a few cents. Our philosophy of sadaqah is a buck here and a buck there. We're not asking them to break the bank. But if you didn't sin, then don't put a dollar or a pound. But if you did something wrong in the past week, why don't you get some forgiveness and put up the GRT page? Is this the page? No, go back to the original one. Go to the original one. Yeah, but it's not done yet. It's not done yet. Go to the original. Yeah, go to the original, combobulated one, and we're still working on that. Yeah, that one. Put that one up. Okay, and let's see what number we like to go with. Just round it out. We're at 13,400. Get them 13,425. You see how easy it is? It's like a wird. Every day, every stream, we just push it up a little bit. Let's get to 13,425 by the end of the day. All right, 13,425. In the meantime, I'll take a question until we get there. My dad is elderly and does physical therapy to be more independent. Should I do things for him when he asks for the sake of bir, or should I encourage him to do things on his own? If doing things on his own is better for him, then yeah, you can ask him to do things on his own. But you have to make sure you explain to him why. Like, tell him that it's better for you to get exercise, it's better for you to move, etc. The Rock with Kevin Hart as VP. You must be in England, don't know what Kevin Hart is going through right now, because he's not so popular as he was before. Not with this Diddy stuff. right? Well, he's been said to be in those parties. Hey, question for Timur. Are we shipping to Europe yet?
So we've activated it, but we just need to do a test run.
Activated, but we're doing a test run.
So
Okay.
we'll be advertised to
Good.
the public as one test.
Very good. Omar, refresh.
That's in Canada, UK, all of Europe, and New Zealand, Australia.
Okay, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, the whole world, basically. Asia, too?
Not yet. But we can set that up too, inshallah.
How can we become members of this channel? You can go to patreon.com and look up Safina Society. Any thoughts on the Oscar win by the Palestinian documentary No Other Land? I did see the speech, and it only works when he has an Israeli next to him, right? Because his partner in the movie is an Israeli. That's how it works. But I'm happy they gave that speech. I mean, it was impressive. I didn't see the movie, though. Ryan, any last things to say? Ahmad Ali speaketh. What are we at? 13,404. Inshallah, by tomorrow, it'll be at 1325. All right, 13,413. 06. Good. How are the pennies changing? Why aren't people putting straight numbers?
Maybe people put dollars.
Oh, it gets transferred, converted. Okay, putting dollars and gets transferred. 420. All right, $5 more, and we'll have done our wird of the day. This is not money going to us. This is kafara of our sins. It's kafara of our sins. Yeah. Make sure you subscribe to the channel by clicking the subscribe button, and then also click for notifications so you get notification every time our we're at. All right, we achieved our words. MashaAllah, 13,440. Please address Sheikh Ammar Naqshawani. That is Shaykh. The Dajjal, right? Yeah. All day and all night, this guy has nothing to do except talk about Omar Aisha, Omar Aisha, Omar Aisha. He's obsessed. How do you have a religion? What law do you have? What precedent do you have if you have removed these two holy people from your lineage of knowledge? Yeah, and he says Sunni Aqidah is confusing. It's confusing if you don't. How is it confusing? There's not a single mas'ala that someone's brought that I haven't been able to explain to a first-year person. Not a single one. If you understand the mas'ala properly, you can bring an analogy and you can explain it so easily to people. Just people have to understand it properly. I saw somebody going and refuting the Ash'ari Aqidah, and he didn't refute the Ash'ari Aqidah. He refuted something else he thought is Ash'ari Aqidah. Some convoluted thing that he thought, yeah. I think he didn't do it intentionally. He actually genuinely misunderstood the whole Ash'ari Aqidah. But whatever. People want to have whatever the opinion they have, and ask Allah hidayah for all of us. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Kalbe şifa ver Allah.